Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Cam, and welcome back to the 1996 Project, a very overdue new entry in the 1996 Project. I went on vacation, and I had the videos in the can, but I just I didn't get around to them. So here I am, basically recording them now. This is for the rest of May. It's going to be a big video. Use the time codes down below if you want to click to a specific one. Please, by all means, do so. I'm going to breeze through the rest of May and not waste too much more time. Let's just get straight into it. I shot Andy Warhol.
I shot Andy Warhol. Yeah, I had to. Yeah, he had too much control over my...
I Shot Andy Warhol was directed by Mary Herron, who would later go on to direct American Psycho. I'm sure some of you have heard of that. And it starred Lily Taylor and Jared Harris, and this is based on the book of the same name. It tells the story of a woman named Valerie Solanas, played by Lily Taylor, who tries and fails to get into the good graces of one Andy Warhol, played by Jared Harris. Around this time in the 1960s, Andy Warhol has The Factory, which is a hotbed for art, music, films of a certain progressive, radical touch. And Solanas wants to get in on that. Only problem is that she's too radical even for Warhol and decides to take matters into her own hands. And this is a movie that I had never heard of up until I watched it for this. Didn't have much knowledge of Warhol before this. And honestly, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I think my like of it really comes down to the fact that it's a period piece. I enjoy me a period piece, and this is definitely one of them. It captures that 60s essence, if you will. It takes place in the factory in New York City. Andy Warhol and all his friends are there, and they're trying to push the envelope. So Solanas should be a perfect fit. But like I said, she's just too radical even for Warhol. She has her Scum manifesto, the Society for Cutting Up Men. She seems like a real winner right there. And she just proves to be crazy, like too crazy to handle. And so when she gets rejected, she doesn't take it super well and decides to take matters into her own hands. The pacing in this movie can be a bit labored. It kind of goes around in circles a few times, but I did enjoy this as a period piece. Good performances. Jared Harris I liked. Lily Taylor I liked. This is a good rating, but a high good rating. It's definitely not one of the best of the year, but as a period piece, I liked it. And it definitely got me thinking about Andy Warhol more than I would have when I wasn't doing this. But next up, let's take a look at a movie that I've technically reviewed before, but I rewatched for the sake of this, and I'm glad I did. It's called The Craft.
The Craft.
The Craft was directed by Andrew Fleming, and it starred Neve Campbell, Robin Tunney, Fairuza Balk, and Rachel True, among others. It tells the story of four young girls who go to a Catholic high school and they become friends. However, they soon find a little thing called witchcraft and they become, well, witches. And it doesn't end well for most of them. Yeah, let's just say most of them. I already covered this a million years ago for a Scary Mania, and I liked it then. But I'm glad I rewatched it now because this movie's way better than I think it gets credit for. I think the movie's only real sin is that it came out in 1996 and it has Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich in it. And no, it's not Scream. Like, Scream comes out later on in the year, and I feel like because of that and the phenomenon that it became, The Craft just kind of got lost in the shuffle, which is a bit of a shame because there's a lot to love here. Like, the dynamic between the four girls I thought was great. I like how they just slowly find this witchcraft and they just start seeing where the line is of like, okay, how far can we take this? Where can we go? They start doing more radical things. Like, one of them walks on water and it causes a pretty significant fishing accident involving whales and sharks that I thought was a pretty good sign of like, yeah, they're not in a vacuum. They're actually like affecting real things and people. It's a pretty scary prospect. And doing a little bit of research, it's good to know that most of the main actors would go on to do good things after this. Like Nev Campbell, we all know what happens to her, Robin Tunney, and Rachel True. But Fariza Balk is the one that kind of doesn't do all of that much. And I don't really know why. Because I feel like that she is really good here. And I feel like there could be more with her, but I don't know. But she was in a lot lesser stuff. But her fate in this is just scary. Like, I won't spoil it in case you've never seen it, but see it if you haven't. But her fate is just, I don't know, it gives me the willies. Like, it never sits right with me. But at the end of the day, the craft is mad underrated. I'm giving this a great rating. If I have a few nits to pick, the effects are not great, but it's 96. What do you want? All told, this, like I said, this is the horror movie with Nev Campbell and Skeet Ulrich in 1996. That's not Scream. Oh, and Breckin Meyer is in it, briefly. But now we go from really high quality to just crap. It's the Pallbearer.
Oh my god.
The Pallbearer.
Pallbearer. Oh, yes! Was directed by Matt Reeves and starred David Schwimmer, Barbara Hershey, Gwyneth Paltrow, and more. It tells the story of a man named Tom Thompson, played by David Schwimmer, who is contacted by a woman in tears. As it turns out, he learns that she is the mother of someone from his past who he has no memory of, but through immense guilt, comes to find out that he becomes a pallbearer at his funeral, and he becomes very close to the woman and his sort of kind of ex. Anyway, here to talk about this very weird and bad movie with me is Eric Moreno. Eric, thank you for joining me for this.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. Weird movie. Just synopsis alone, I wish I had known it before watching the movie. I didn't want to check more, and then I saw the movie play. Then this is very weird. Glad to be here to talk about it.
The main star of this, David Schwimmer, like this was in the big Friends craze. Like Friends was still a huge deal around this time. Like it was just about to hit its prime if it wasn't in its prime already. So like Schwimmer was a big name. Like get even bigger, like Jennifer Aniston and all of them would as well. But this was like the thing. Like this was just on the doorstep of that. And this was directed by Matt Reeves. And if that name sounds familiar to any of you, yes, it's the Matt Reeves you're thinking of, like Rise of the Planet of the, or not Rise, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, or For the Planet of the Apes, Cloverfield, and The Bat. He directed all of those. Like that's the same guy that directed this. And you can tell that this is his directorial debut. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, you can tell this one is not as talked about as Cloverfield and the rest of the movies he did. Like he waited a long time to do something good. Finally accomplished it 12 years later, which is it's, honestly same. That could happen to anyone. Pallbearer is basically a debut film in all intents and purposes. Doesn't show any of the promise that he will later show as a director. It's more of it's a very of its time movie. Like obviously, this is a time where the cast of Friends was starting to become like big. So this is David Schwimmer's first role as a leading man. He basically plays Ross from Friends. I'm a huge fan of Friends. I'm a big defender of David Schwimmer as an actor. Like he's fantastic in Friends overall. I think the benefit of that show and one of the main issues with the Pallbearer is that Friends, even though Ross is admittedly a very unlikable character at times, he makes terrible decisions. By the point he makes those decisions, you already understand him as a character and you already like him because he's a very likable person at the beginning, and to a later extent less so, but still like it's the same Ross. In the Pallbearer, this guy is just kind of crap. And although we do like movies about people who are crap sometimes, this is a romantic comedy with an insane premise. People that make stupid decisions just cause or for very insane reasons. And David Schwimmer as a character in this movie as Thompson is not like Like the major decision he makes is just too huge of a blunder for one to engage with him as a character. Like, just, what the hell are you doing? Why are you lying about this? You don't need to lie about it. I understand that
Yeah,
the guy's mom is very pretty, but this is something that's gonna like it's just gonna blow in your face. It's insane. This movie's insane, which is weird because it's also pretty boring, but it's insane. Jacob.
yeah. It veers from insane to incredibly bland with no real in between whatsoever. And I'll back you up on that. Schwimmer is actually quite good. I don't know if you've ever seen the miniseries Band of Brothers that was on HBO like a couple decades ago. He plays the in the first couple episodes, he plays the drill sergeant, and he's very hateable in that by design, and he does a great job. So I've always respected him for that. He's also Melman in the Madagascar films. So Schwimmer's been around. You just probably didn't recognize him at the time. But just here, he's just a dummy. Like I'm just sitting there like, if you just called up this woman and said, I'm sorry, I'm not your guy, but let me help you find the guy you're looking for. Like, it would have been game over. But no, we just have to drag ourselves with him through this, and your heart sinks deeper into your gut the more this movie goes on. And like, just poor Barbara Hershey, like, she's good in this as like the mom of the dead son. Like, she's fine in all of this, but I was just sitting there like, this is beneath her. Like, I just feel so sorry for her.
Yeah, like she's very good in the role. She has a very complex character as opposed to David Schwimmer's character, and the rest of the movie is very different to the thing because it's two different plots that kind of connect in a very weird way. It's the first part of the plot already mentioned by Jacob, and then it's the other part, the more rom-com part of the movie. And if you've seen the poster, you know it's a rom-com. It's your basic white background, two pretty actors at the front. The other part is, of course, with Gwyneth Paltrow as her as his high school crush that comes back into his life because of. It's not even because of the funeral. She goes to a party of one of David Schwimmer's friends. Great cast overall. Besides David Schwimmer, I don't know. I defend him in some scenes. He's very good at being like uncomfortable, and I guess this movie asks of him that much because that's a very Ross trait. So he's good in that part. He's very good when he's interacting with Carol Kane as his mother. Carol Kane is always a funny actress for me. I'm always fond of her. Gwyneth Paltrow, of course, plays a very similar character to the many characters she has played. She always plays like very mysterious, down to earth. But like the love interest, you kind of don't know that much about her. She doesn't have amazing chemistry with him, but it's fine. Like I guess, but she's there. She's solid. Toni Collette is really fun. Toni Collette is always fun. She's like the sensible friend of David Schwimmer's character. Actually, she's the girlfriend of one of his friends. Actually, not his specific friend because he doesn't. I don't know. This is not the character he doesn't like. That's another one. Toni Collette is very likable in this, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody else. But the rest of the cast is solid. It's just David Schwimmer, maybe not as developed a character, or either not that interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. Like you said, just great cast. Like Toni Collette is in here. She's usually good. Like you got Mark Margolis, who was Hector Salamanca in Breaking Bad. I'm at the point in my life now where whenever I see Mark Margolis in anything that's not Breaking Bad, it's weird. Like whenever I see his face, I'm just like, where's the bell? Someone needs to tell me where the bell is in this room. But like he has one scene, but he's good in there. This material is just not good. And this was just one of the more annoying movies I've covered for this project. It's a shame, really, because the elements are here. Like there's enough to where in a bubble, like this could be somewhat likable, but just no one's likable in this, like you mentioned. Like Schwimmer's trying to give this eulogy and he's like, what can you say? Like he doesn't know what to say. So like, what can you say about like the chess club? And they're in the back and they're laughing at him. Like they're like Toni Collette's like sneezing, trying to cover up, but it's like they're laughing at this guy. Like instead of, trying to be constructive, no, instead they're just burying him just casually. And it just sucked. Like, and this was supposed to be the comedy. This was supposed to be the comedy of it all, and it wasn't. It wasn't even close to funny.
Oh, Michael Rappaport is another one of his friends. He's solid in this one. He plays well with David Schwimmer there. This is not the only. Besides the whole funeral scene is very uncomfortable as it is, but it's kind of the point because if you take Gwyneth Paltrow as the character of reason, I guess she doesn't know about this, of course, so she's uncomfortable by them laughing at him. She doesn't know exactly why are they. Does she know? I don't remember if she knows he doesn't know the guy. Now that I think about it, I might be getting that wrong. But she's still like, oh, you shouldn't be laughing about him. Like he's at the funeral. He many times shows that he doesn't know the guy, and they kind of explain this for Barbara Hershey. Either she kind of knows but doesn't care because it's his son's friend, or he kind of becomes like at first, and this is very weird in a sense, like he's kind of surrogate son, and then spoilers for a movie you shouldn't see, so probably you don't care. Like she sleeps with him after a weird moment where they're watching the pictures of the guy. He still can't place the guy properly. Like he knows he went to school and that's it. And then they start this whole subplot of weird romance there. And like Barbara Hershey's a really pretty woman. David Schwimmer looks all right. It's just weird after their previous relationship. It's just odd. It kind of explains what makes him more of an asshole if he decided to stick around because of that. And at the same time, is when he starts to hang out more with Gwyneth Paltrow's character, who at first seems to hit it off better with a friend of David Schwimmer's, who already has a girlfriend who's about to get married. I think no, it's a guy who dates Toni Collette. I'm confusing. Michael Rappaport is the guy who's getting married, and yeah, she hits it off with him best, but then he finds out like he kisses her. Oh, David Schwimmer also stalks her when he's not doing anything with the dead guy's car. She goes to see her at work. That's where he sees that his friend kisses her. Later, we find out she doesn't actually want to kiss him. She explained this to David Schwimmer, so it's all good there. And it's a whole deal. It's a messy movie for such an odd concept to begin with. It like I don't know if it didn't commit enough to being either a comedy or a drama. Like you can have an uncomfortable situation in a movie, but in this, I kind of have to like the guy. I guess the decisions he makes are just too stupid for me to like focus. Like, oh, god damn it, what are you doing?
Unfortunately, this on my scale, this movie's pretty horrid. Like, it's just, it's not even 90 minutes long. Like, let me fact check myself. It's 97 minutes, so it's 97 minutes, but you're just feeling every minute of it, and just take solace in knowing that including Matt Reeves, will go on to do much better things. A couple years from now, he joins Abrams to create the TV show Felicity, and that connections a whole bunch of movies between the two of them, and the rest is history. And Matt Reeves would become much better, but just I get the feeling, because this was a Miramax joint, like this was just dead on arrival from the beginning. Like, it's when some of the things were suggested in this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a Miramax film, isn't it? Just chill run up your spine.
I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow famously was the darling of Miramax at this point of her career. Like late 90s is just the road to getting her an Oscar, which was Weinstein style at the time. So this type of movie was very popular in the 90s. I want to say like very indie coded 90s romantic drama. It was kind of the thing back there. You have a star on the rise, Gwyneth Paltrow. She this same year, I think she releases Emma. She had been in a couple movies before. Obviously, later wins the Oscar. David Schwimmer, 2 years after the beginning of Friends, already super popular. You might as well put him in a movie. This is the movie they decided on. Oh, okay, this is the movie they fell on, and yeah, the name alone kind of like it's just a clash of too many tones, I guess, in the sense. Besides that,
yeah,
why would you call it The Pallbearer? Why would somebody go to watch a rom-com called The Pallbearer, like with that kind of a premise? I guess young people doing stupid things. It was a thing in the 90s. I guess Seinfeld is very based on that. Seinfeld, you're supposed to kind of dislike the guys. That's kind of the whole issue. So when they make stupid decisions, it's kind of funny. This one is not funny enough for me to laugh at those decisions. And since I'm supposed to care about him, and she doesn't actually get his comeuppance as much, he just kind of he kind of does something nice for Robert Hershey. So I guess he does fine. But by that point, I'm just like, come on, this guy sucks. That's basically the movie.
Yeah, it's not nearly enough. And like just one more note before I wrap things up. Earlier in this project, I covered a movie, Christian Slater, and that one was based on basically leaves a bouquet of roses for this girl he sees and basically takes the risk and is like, okay, she took the bait, they're like falling in love with each other. That's a pretty ludicrous premise, but somehow I like that more than this because that has likable characters. One does not. And that's the difference.
Yeah, it's basically the whole thing about this genre. You kind of have to like them, or unless you're doing like It's Always Sunny, Seinfeld kind of thing. You want them to be kind of unlikable. That this one wasn't it. This just isn't.
What did you all think of Pallbearer? If you have seen it, let us know in the comments. Love to say, Eric, thank you so much for doing. Have you back on this project for a much better movie later on down the line. It involves a certain series, your favorite scary movie, and I'm sure people can pick up on that one. But tell the people where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me mostly in the places you can find Jacob, your White Bull of Horrors, your show about trivia. We just did a draft yesterday. It was a lot of fun. Movies from 2010, not 2010s. I got introduced to the draft by on serious means. I believe it was 2010s. 2010. It's a lot of fun. Watch that. Your multiplex. I show up often. Your TVNT Inc. and many many more places. I'll be here talking about better movies with the cast of friends later down the year.
Comfort Farm was directed by John Schlesinger, who had previously directed Eye for an Eye, which I've already covered on this project. And it starred Eileen Atkins and Kate Beckinsale, among more. It tells the story of a young woman played by Kate Beckinsale who finds out that she has some family that she's never met who live in a farm in the middle of nowhere, UK. So she goes and meets them. And yeah, they're pretty eccentric and out there. And to be perfectly honest, I can't remember much about this. This one was very just like in one ear out the other. And it's a shame too, because there's some good actors here. You got Rufus Sewell in this movie playing a rare good guy. I didn't see that one coming. You got Ian McKellen. I'm not 100% sure if this is like this can't be his first movie role. He's had to have done some before this, but I swear, it's not until 5 years after this he's in Lord of the Rings, and then 4 years after Cold Comfort Farm, he's in X-Men. So he's just close to breaking out in the mainstream, but I'm just sitting here this can't be his first movie, but yet it's still so weird seeing him in stuff that's not X-Men or Lord of the Rings. That's just weird to me. But he's fine, and really this movie is just pretty forgettable. Normally it's a bunch of English actors in the English countryside. It's speaking my language. But with this, I can't remember a single thing about it other than Ian McKellen was in it briefly, and that's about it. But now we go to something that I have way more to say on. It's a little movie called Dead Man.
Says the LA Times.
You William Blake?
Yes, I am. Do you know my poetry?
Dead Man.
Dead Man was directed by Jim Jarmusch, who would later go on to direct movies like Patterson and The Dead Don't Die. It starred Johnny Depp, Gary Farmer, Crispin Glover, Lance Henriksen, Michael Wincott, and a lot of others. Seriously, this cast is so loaded, it's not even funny. Iggy Pop is in this movie. Just wow. But it tells the story of an accountant named William Blake, played by Johnny Depp, who is on the run for a murder. But he ends up running into Nobody, literally a person named Nobody, played by Gary Farmer, who takes him into the spiritual world. And that's it. That's pretty much the movie in a nutshell. This movie is a trip. Make no mistake. It's surreal. It's out there. It's not 100% sure of where the logic ends or begins. And I loved every minute of it. There could have been more plot, sure. But at the same time, I just had a I had a great time with this. Johnny Depp's great. Gary Farmer's great. Crispin Glover is a lot of fun in his brief role. Michael Wincott and his raspy voice are great. John Hurt's great. Just the actors came to play. And this is a Western, yes, but it's not like any Western that you've ever seen. So it's not going to be for everyone. That being said, though, I love the uniqueness. I love just how twisted it all feels. Like, this movie's getting a great rating. I'm not going to go full amazing. I wish it were a little more plot heavy, but I don't care. The movie has vibes for days, and it's one of the more underrated movies that I've covered for this project. I hear no one talking about this, and I feel like more people should. But now we move on to... Of Love and Shadows. Yeah.
Of Love and Shadows.
Of Love and Shadows was directed by Betty Kaplan, and what you need to know about this is that Jennifer Connelly is trying to play a Chilean woman and failing miserably. This movie's horrid. We're moving on.
And I'm working with him.
Well, there goes the neighborhood.
Original Gangstas.
Original Gangstas was directed by Larry Cohen, who had previously directed The Stuff. Yes, really. Among many other wild movies. And starred Fred Williamson, Jim Brown, Pam Grier, Paul Winfield, and more. It tells the story of a group of former friends who come together to their hometown of Gary, Indiana, to come to their town for the first time in a really long time due to the death of a mutual friend. They used to run together as a gang. However, there is another gang that has taken over their turf called the Rebels, and they are not ones to mess with. However, they decide that they're going to fight back in a way that they know how. What I can describe this movie as is basically the blaxploitation Avengers, if that makes any sense at all. It's basically an ode to that style of movie from like the late 60s and early 70s. If that appeals to you, then this is going to be for you for sure. Me personally, I'm not super familiar with blaxploitation, but I do love Pam Grier. I do love Jim Brown in the few things that I have seen him in. Richard Roundtree, Shaft, is in this, and he's great. So, yeah, there's a lot to like here. The action's fun. The rapport between everyone involved is just rock solid. This is a fun little movie. I'm going to give this a good rating, but a high good rating. It's one that fell under the radar for somewhat understandable reasons, but overall, this one was way better than I was anticipating. Watch this for Jim Brown. Jim Brown alone. But now we move on to a movie with a whole bunch of stuff in it, and I can't remember any of that one either. It's Heaven's Prisoners.
Dave?
Heaven's Prisoners.
Heaven's Prisoners was directed by Phil Joannou. Yeah, that's a name, isn't it? And it starred Alec Baldwin, Eric Roberts, rocking some cornrows, and more. It tells the story of a former cop, played by Alec Baldwin, who is just trying to live his life with his family and not drink anymore. But while he is out on his boat, he sees a plane crash and sees a young girl as the lone survivor, so takes her in and tries to protect her and save her from the wrath of a gangster, played by Eric Roberts. And this movie's 2 hours, 10 minutes, and I can't remember a single blessed thing from this other than Alec Baldwin and Eric Roberts are in this, which is a shame because there's a good cast here, interesting premise, but I just can't remember much from this. It's just one in a blur of dramas from this era where it's just a bunch of people there seemingly for no rhyme or reason. And overall, this is just pretty forgettable. I just have nothing left to say. Thankfully, this next movie is much better. It's Spy Hard.
Spy Hard. He's got a license to spill.
Spy Hard was directed by Rick Friedberg of Friedberg and Seltzer fame. Yeah, they kind of suck. Thankfully, this one's good though. And it starred Leslie Nielsen, Nicolette Sheridan, Charles Durning, Marcia Gay Harding, and more. And this is just one in a long string of I can't believe it's not airplane movies. I know how to talk. And this is basically a parody of various spy movies with Leslie Nielsen in it. Though this one is actually quite good. It's not perfect, but I feel like out of all the airplane adjacent Leslie Nielsen parodies, this is the best one that I've seen. At a certain point, it becomes so dizzying, all of the references to other things, where you just can't help but laugh. Oh, and it also helps that Leslie Nielsen is in this movie, because even though he was definitely getting up there in age by this point, he still crushes nonetheless. And it's just a lot of fun seeing him work. And really, this is just, like I said, this is very much airplane adjacent. There's even some callbacks to some jokes from Airplane, among the many other references. There's honestly too many references. That's what knocks it down a few pegs for me. There's just way too many references to other things. Like, I counted at the very least Indiana Jones, Patriot Games. Like, there's a direct Fugitive reference, even though I distinctly remember that there was a Leslie Nielsen Fugitive parody movie that he did maybe a year after this or before this. Me in the future put something to say when that one came out right here. But the jokes come so fast that you can't process any of them. Like, and the one that you can process are funny, but it's not really enough to justify it. I am going to give this a good rating, though. The movie is legit funny in places, but the movie needs to take a breath on occasion. It just comes at you with everything, and it just really didn't need to. Also, the opening scene is just awesome, where it's just a Weird Al Yankovic parody of the James Bond style of intro. Watch the movie just for that and that alone. Now we come to a movie that I just don't get, and I don't understand, and I have no plans on understanding. It's Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Think about girls?
What, are you kidding? I want to get into a good school.
Welcome to the Dollhouse was directed by Todd Solondz, and it tells the story of a young 7th grade girl named Dawn, played by Heather Matarazzo. I said it right, yes. And she is just, no one likes her. No one likes her at school. No one likes her at home. It's just a painful time for her. She joins up with this band. All the while, she is pursued, I guess is the right word for it, by this kid named Brandon. And look, this is one of those ones where, as I was watching it, I'm like, I feel like I'm going to be in the minority on this one, because this movie is actually quite awful. But the movie got positive reviews. And from everything that I was able to read up on the film, it just seems to me like people were praising this because of how realistic it felt. Okay, I can kind of understand that, but I want to describe to you a scene from the movie. It's from the movie. I cannot make this up. There is a scene in which Dawn is threatened by Brandon at knife point and threatened to be sexually assaulted if she didn't meet him at this certain time at this certain place after school, with a knife, and threatened with sexual assault in middle school. And I think the movie was trying to pass this off as like the kid doesn't know how to like talk to girls and comes from a bad home. Like, okay, I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, you just threatened a 7-year-old girl with sexual assault. That's not a good thing. That's certainly not something that you want to be broadcasting it out there to someone who probably, I don't know. I just don't know. The movie's so needlessly cruel that it transcended the whole like, oh, well, this is clearly the reason for this. No, this was just cruel for the sake of being cruel. This movie's horrid. I'm sorry. I'm sure there is a reason why the movie was like this for the message, I guess, but I just didn't click with this one. If you did, great. If not, I just didn't care for this one. Now we go to just the weirdness of this little movie called The Arrival.
Look back. Charlie Sheen, Ron Silver, The Arrival.
The Arrival was directed by David Twohy. It's a movie about aliens, and no, it is not this one. This one's way better. But it starred Charlie Sheen as a man who works for NASA who thinks that he has discovered the presence of aliens. However, he is suspiciously then fired from his job and finds himself on the run because he has found something he was not supposed to find. This movie actually has a small cult following. It recently just got a big physical re-release. And honestly, I don't get it. Like, I love sci-fi. I love alien stuff. I love, especially what we know about UFOs nowadays, like how weirdly relevant it now is. But I just didn't. It's a sci-fi movie. And when the sci-fi elements do get introduced, they're just bad. Like, they're bad looking. Like, the aliens are weirdly evil in this, which, okay, I get that's the point, but at the same time, it's like they can shape shift. It's just quite bizarre, really. This whole movie is very bizarre. Like, honestly, it's just pretty forgettable. If you like it, great. It just wasn't for me. Penultimate movie in this video, and someone thought Sean Connery voicing a dragon was a good idea. This is Dragonheart.
Believe. Dragonheart.
Dragonheart was directed by Rob Cohen, who would later go on to direct The Fast and the Furious, the original one, and Triple X. No, it's nothing like that. It's the Vin Diesel movie where he slides down a mountain and says, "Ain't nothing like fresh powder." Like that Rob Cohen. And like I mentioned, it stars Sean Connery as the voice of a dragon, and Dennis Quaid and David Thewlis. And it tells the story of medieval times in which a young boy finds a dragon named Draco, voiced by Sean Connery, and he and Draco fight off David Thewlis. I say young boy and I think of Dennis Quaid, who is the knight who finds dragon. I am dumb. Point is, this movie's just weird. Like, I like knight movies, like swords and sorcery. I like those kinds of movies, but I was just sitting there the entire time thinking, why is Sean Connery voicing a dragon? Why do the effects look bad? Like, why any of this? Is this supposed to be the D&D movie? We got the D&D movie 4 years after this. It was god-awful. So, I don't know. Like, this one just felt bizarre. There is stuff to like here. There's some good action scenes. Dennis Quaid is legit good in his role. David Thewlis is good as the bad guy. Like, it's David Thewlis. He's going to be good regardless. It just... Why make Sean Connery a dragon? Like, why was that decision made? I have to know. Otherwise, this movie's pretty forgettable. This somehow spawned several sequels. Your guess is as good as mine. But now, to wrap things up, we come to Whoopi Goldberg becomes the coach of the New York Knicks, which is oddly relevant nowadays. It's Eddie. Eddie was directed by Steve Rash, who would later go on to direct several direct-to-video sequels of very popular comedies, Bring It On, American Pie, and Road Trip. And it starred Whoopi Goldberg, Frank Langella, and Dennis Farina, among others. It tells the story of a Knicks superfan named Eddie Franklin, played by Whoopi Goldberg, who in a honorary coach contest becomes the honorary coach of the Knicks. However, the new owner of the Knicks, played by Frank Langella, says, you know what? Let's make her the coach. And so she becomes the coach of the New York Knicks. And she becomes really good at it. So I have a bit of a small confession to make. When I was growing up, this is a movie that I watched pretty frequently. I don't know why, but that's just how it was. And so with that being said, I've watched this movie quite a bit. So revisiting it was just a bit of a trip. Let me just say out of the way that this movie's quite ridiculous. Like, not the Knicks going to the title thing. Like, as I'm recording this, the Knicks are actively in the NBA Finals, and it'd be cool if they won. It's if they haven't won yet. So if they win, great. If not, then, well, sucks for them. But the point is that rewatching this now, knowing with the knowledge that the Knicks could win the championship, I'm like, oh, Eddie Franklin must have been a success after all. Whoopi Goldberg was fine as an actress to me, but here, I think she's weirdly kind of good. Like, she is a fan, but not like, and a bit of an annoying kind of fan, but she is genuinely passionate. And when she does become the coach of the team, she takes it seriously, and she tries to motivate the players. And she realizes that the players are human beings and they've got problems of their own. One of them's going through a divorce. One is from Georgia, not Atlanta, but the Georgia next to Russia. And he can't speak any English. And so she has to break through in certain ways. And it was weirdly fun to see that happen. And like, you got Richard Jenkins as her assistant coach. Like, he's always great. And there's just, this movie's weirdly endearing. Like, there's this one problem player named Stacey Patton who talks in the third person, who gets humbled and weirdly has a bit of a mini arc involving his mother, which that was great. And he ends up playing street ball with, I believe, some actual legit NBA players, which that's pretty cool. And so there's weirdly a lot to like about this movie. I might be, rose-tinted glasses, but I'm going to give this a great rating. Again, this very weird rating for mine, but I have a bit of nostalgia for it, and the movie has just a big old soft spot right here. It is quite ridiculous, but at the same time, it's the right kind of ridiculous. But I pass it off to all of you. What did you think of any of the movies I've talked about? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. I have a few 96 Project standalone videos coming up for a couple of the bigger movies, one of which being The Phantom, which I talked about with Austin Paz Howell, and The Rock, which I'm doing by myself, because The Rock is the highest grossing film of 96. I figured that deserves its own video. But for now, my name is Ryan Kim. I'll see you all in